I didn't say a word when the HOA president pounded her. Gavel and shouted that my little parade was an embarrassment to the neighborhood. I didn't argue when she waved her papers and claimed I had no right to march down Main Street with flags, music, and veterans riding in classic cars. I just slid the official city permit across the table, the one signed by the mayor, stamped with the seal of the council and issued exclusively to me. The HOA lawyer leaned forward, scanned the page, and his face drained of color. He knew before. The president did. Their bluster meant nothing against the document I had been holding all along. I leaned back, calm and collected, and watched the room fall silent. I never moved into this town for conflict. I had spent most of my adult life in uniforms and deserts, on ships and bases, watching other people's parades on shaky live streams. From thousands of miles away, by the time I retired, all I wanted was peace. I bought a modest house near the edge of town, a place with a porch wide enough for a rocking chair and a view of the hills where the sunsets fell orange and slow. My neighbors waved, kids rode their bikes past the cul-de-sac, and I thought maybe, finally, yes, I had found a corner where I could grow old without having to fight for it. Part of that peace was my tradition. Every year on Independence Day I helped organize a small parade, not the big city kind with floats and fireworks, but something humble. Veterans walking with flags, local high schoolers with a marching band, a line of trucks decorated in red, white, and blue. We weren't showing off, we were honoring. For me, it was the one day I could stand alongside people who understood sacrifice without words. But the first year I suggested it to my HOA board, their reaction stunned me. The president told me bluntly, "That parade's brought unwanted attention and made the neighborhood look cheap." A week later, I found a violation notice taped to my door. Unauthorized street gathering. Subject to fine. My jaw dropped. Wasn't even the HOA street. They didn't own Main Street. Yet they wrote the letter as if their word carried. The weight of law. At first, I thought it was a misunderstanding. Surely, if I explained that it was about honoring veterans, they'd back down. I sent emails, polite ones, asking for clarification. I quoted their own bylaws that clearly said their jurisdiction ended at the private roads, not public city streets. I asked to meet and show them the application I was preparing for the city permit. Their replies came back curt, sometimes mocking. "We don't want cheap displays of patriotism on our board's watch," one wrote. Another claimed that I should find a more appropriate outlet for nostalgia. When I attended a board meeting to try to explain in person, they actually laughed when I mentioned veterans. That's when something in me shifted, not to anger, but to cold focus. That night, I stopped writing emails. Instead, I opened my laptop and dug through city ordinances one by one. I read zoning codes, public safety statutes, and the small print about parades and gatherings. I contacted the city clerk's office and requested every permit record from the last 10 years. I stayed up late in my study, my walls slowly filling with copies of maps, statutes, and handwritten notes. Neighbors who once waved now avoided me, afraid to be associated with the man the HOA had branded a troublemaker. My partner worried about the stress, but I reassured her. I wasn't looking for a fight. I was preparing for one I already knew. I would win. The key was buried in the municipal archives. A clause from 1978 granting exclusive authority to issue parade permits to the city council. HOAs were specifically excluded, a legal safeguard against private boards interfering with public streets. It was like finding a loaded weapon hidden in plain sight. I applied for my permit directly with the city. I didn't just get approval. I was issued the only standing permit for parades on Main Street, valid for 5 years. With it, I had something more powerful than any threat or fine the HOA could draft. When the day came for their showdown, I was ready. The HOA called an emergency meeting, accusing me of sabotaging neighborhood order, expecting me to argue, to lose my temper, maybe even to storm out. Instead, I waited until their lawyer had finished his long tirade about unauthorized gatherings. Then I placed the permit on the table. Not loudly, not angrily, just quiet, final, undeniable. The room went dead still. The HOA president squinted, confused, until her lawyer leaned close and whispered, I saw her lips press thin, her skin pale. She realized in that moment that she had no power over me. None. The aftermath was predictable, but satisfying. The HOA tried to save face, claiming they had only been concerned about safety. But neighbors who had stayed silent started whispering. Some stopped paying attention to the board entirely. A few even apologized privately, telling me they had supported the parade all along, but had been too afraid to speak. The president resigned within the year, citing stress. The fines they had threatened evaporated into nothing. And the following summer, when our parade rolled down Main Street again, flags waving, kids laughing, veterans walking towel, the house clubhouse windows were shut tight. No complaints, no threats, just silence. Now when I drive through the neighborhood, some board members wave, tight smiles on their faces. Others look away, pretending not to see me. I need their approval. The permit is framed in my study, a reminder that sometimes the quietest moves are the most devastating. I didn't win by shouting or fighting. I won by knowing the law, better than the people who thought they could bend it around me. And now, every July, when the band strikes up and the flags rise in the sun, I know the streets belong to us, not to the HOA, not to their petty power, but to the people who earned the right to march them. And the best part? It's quiet again. It's just the way I like it.